started as a corporate startup of UNIQA in 2020. Since then, it became a pretty big name in the Austrian innovation scene. And I would call it a corporate scale-up, actually. I'm talking about Mavie, or Mavie Next. Today, I have the two managing directors with me in our series Corporate Venturing. It's Lukas Mayrl and Ondrej Gandel. Welcome to the Brutkasten studio.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to being here.
So I already said you're meanwhile a scale-up founded in 2020. And you have a pretty big portfolio of offers in the healthcare sector. And I guess a lot of our audience know about Mavie. Still, the first thing I wanted to ask you is a classical pitch. Could you introduce Mavie to our audience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, happy to do so. Thanks very much for having us. Again, Mavie was founded by UNIQA, as you just mentioned, in order to build up a second business segment next to the insurance in healthcare, independently and additionally to the insurance core. And what we are aiming for is to really help people to navigate through their personal and individual health, always taking the next step to stay healthy or get healthy, no matter where they are, at home, at work, in a clinic, or of course also online from wherever they are basically. And what are we doing? We are really trying to help people understand their individual health on the one side, which is also related to your diagnostics. And then we are also helping them with concrete actions and next steps. And where we have come so far is that we are the market leader for corporate healthcare. So we help people at work, we help companies to keep their culture, their organization, and their people healthy. We are in 8 markets there already across CE and have 900 B2B customers. Another area is Mavie Me. So we have at-home diagnostics. People can comfortably and conveniently from home access healthcare. It could be, for instance, blood tests, it could be stress tests, it could be glucose tests. And from their couch at home, they get access to a diagnostics tool, a well-being lifestyle tool, and also doctor's recommendations. And then we also have, at the other end of the life cycle, of course, also the 24-hour care services. So we are the market leader also for care at home in order to provide opportunities to age at home in dignity. And we also do work with our sister company, Mavie Med, with 6 private hospitals in Austria to also help people when they are in acute need. So from prevention over acute services to care at home, we are really trying to cover the entire life cycle with individualized, personalized, in the future also orchestrated solutions that always help you to take the next steps to stay healthy or get healthy.
You told me before, when we talked before, that you're 45 people, meanwhile, at Mavie Next. Mm-hmm. Your sister company, Mavie Med, is even bigger, I guess, or I think. Now, you're somehow still a corporate startup. What I wanted to ask you is how much corporate and how much startup are you still, as we are here in the Corporate Venturing series?
It's a very good question, and also has evolved and developed over the last few years. We were founded in 2020, and back then I would have said we were mostly startup. It was really the founding spirit. Everything was done with the help of UNIQA, boosted by UNIQA, but also again independently from UNIQA. So we had to find our own office. We hired our own people. We had our own HR person after a while. We had our own finance. Like we did really everything ourselves, and we went into exploration. So UNIQA said, you go, you explore healthcare, you build a healthcare segment that at some point in time in future is as big as UNIQA. And this means that we first had to find the areas that we wanted to invest in, the areas that we wanted to build something in. So it was really startup vibes, also the ways of working, everything was startup. And we still maintain some of this culture. However, now we have a significant size. We're also obviously visible in the financial data of UNIQA. So we have to get more and more compliant with corporate standards. So we are facilitating between the startup culture on the one hand, and then our shareholders, UNIQA on the one side. And then we also have Raiffeisen as a shareholder since half a year on the other side, to make sure that both worlds can actually harmonize and work with each other.
I would also add that this is a process when you really get to a certain scale, when you don't want to reinvent the processes every single time. So you, let's say financial planning, you don't want to do it for every single company. You start introducing standards, and this is what probably people associate with corporate. So this is also for us a good sign of scaling up and getting bigger and faster. And that I think is becoming more and more prevalent in Mavie. However, as Lukas said, we want to keep the speed and decision making, the atmosphere, and the sort of the drive of the early days. That's what's still cool about working at Mavie.
Lukas said before that Mavie is supposed to become as big as UNIQA. It's like a complete new second field. It brings me to a question that we discussed earlier in our corporate venturing series. It was about venture building, and Mavie came out of a venture building process, obviously. And they said venture building should focus on ventures that are close to the core business of the corporate. And so I see there are obvious connections between Mavie's business and the core business of UNIQA. Still, this plan of making Mavie as big as UNIQA, how much would you agree on this thesis that the venture building project should be very close to the core business?
I mean, that's a
looking at Mavie.
That's a good question. I mean, Mavie is not specifically looking into insurance. Mavie is looking into healthcare, and that's because it's not a core business of UNIQA, but it's actually a very important part of the UNIQA's overall portfolio is the healthcare. It's it's the largest provider of private health insurance in Austria. So from that perspective, it's related. It is close, but it is far enough for it to be a standalone unit.
And if I may add, we are all living in the same world with the same challenges. No matter if you're an insurance or a healthcare provider, you're kind of trying the same challenges in society. Namely, demographic shift. So we are getting older, but we are also sick for longer. We are underinvesting into prevention. So healthcare claims will become more intense and more expensive also for insurances as we are getting older and are sick for longer. People are asking for individualized and personalized healthcare because they have issues to navigate through healthcare. The public healthcare system is great, also especially in wealthy countries like Austria. Still, there is some gaps in the healthcare system that need to be fulfilled in order to serve the people what they need in healthcare. And yes, whilst UNIQA is focused on insurance and we are focused on healthcare services, there is, when you look at the customer, needs around healthcare that we can only answer together. And in that, there's also a lot of potential for synergies. Also, UNIQA, of course, consciously thought about where to venture back then. And they said that healthcare is the perfect fit because they already were owning our sister company, Mavie Med. So the 5 hospitals, nowadays it's already 6. They were already and are still the leader for healthcare insurance. So they have a lot of intelligence and experience with healthcare topics in the healthcare system, a lot of contacts. And they already had a network of 250 doctors and nutritionists and sports scientists. So this was, of course, an asset that we could build on and that also helped us to kickstart exploring the healthcare sector. And again, to close this answer maybe, at the end of the day, we are working with the same people. We are trying to fulfill the same desires of the people. They need help to navigate through healthcare. They need help to understand what they need in healthcare. They need good, convenient, personalized, and also orchestrated services. And it also needs to be financed either by the state or privately out of pocket or by an insurance. And this is where we are closely collaborating, although we as a venture builder have been kind of founded or outsourced of UNIQA.
You were just talking about the close collaboration. So as a Mavie customer, I also get UNIQA offers. As a UNIQA customer, I also get Mavie offers, or is this something you try to split?
No, this is of course possible if people opt in. Of course, we are compliant with all data requirements. maybe also important to mention, so we don't share health data with UNIQA. That's absolutely important, and we don't do. And vice versa, UNIQA cannot share all their data with us. Having said that, if someone is an UNIQA customer, even in the B2B area, so corporates that have insurance for UNIQA, they can also take Mavie work offerings, the corporate health offerings, right? So we do offer Mavie services to UNIQA customers. We don't yet offer insurances to Mavie customers.
But you will eventually.
It's not on the concrete roadmap, but if it makes sense to the customer, if it's a desire and a demand in the future, we can consider it.
You already mentioned shortly before that you're also a venture builder. Now, in the course of our corporate venturing series, we were talking a lot about venture building this year. So you're still building up new ventures. One question I have about this is, what are the most important projects right now? What are you really building up from start?
Again, I think this has evolved from the beginning till now. At the beginning, we were completely in venture building mode. So it was ideation, incubation, trying to scale, learn fast, fail fast. This was what all our culture was about. 80% of the ventures we tried to build and staffed at least in exploration for a couple of weeks, or already in incubation, we stopped again. We were trying to be very fast with that. Lots of them are still in the drawer. The time is not ripe yet. So maybe the payer is not there yet. Maybe the system doesn't understand the issue yet, but it will be there in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So we're ready to launch it then. And some of the ideas were just not working. However, over the last few years, and Ondrej can speak to that later on, we focused more and more also on acquisitions. It's faster and while building something that is there already. And now we have still most of the build projects that we have focused on areas that we are active on already. So they are meant to fill gaps in, for instance, care at home, or also around telemedicine, which I didn't introduce at the beginning. Also market leader for telemedicine in Poland. We will have 1 million consultations this year already. We are also available in Austria. They are focusing on what are the gaps, what are the latest trends, what are the latest innovations in this space, and then they build like almost, I call it now for simplicity, like a mini startup that can then be integrated into existing business units that we have already. And there we are working, for instance, on, we call it CareX, it's a code name, working on more innovative solutions around care at home, because we have a shortage on caregivers on the one hand. Then there's always a debate about quality in the middle, and then you have a demand side that is growing the families. And here we are trying to build new digital solutions, also collaborating with the insurance, maybe creating an insurance so that you have it covered when you need care at home. And this is built like a venture, but then eventually integrated into the service we have here already. Another one is called OptiWeight. So here we are working on the problem of obesity, which is a huge issue. Obviously, you probably have heard about GLP-1. People who are really obese do have medication that they can take now, but it needs a very orchestrated process. We're looking into this, how we can make this accessible for the people who really need it, who get it prescribed by doctors. And this ties in with our telemedicine business, but also our corporate business, etc. So a long answer, but we were complete venture building at the beginning, and Mavie is probably the biggest outcome. That's the Heimdiagnostics. Now we are still building mini ventures to integrate them into the business unit. That's important to us.
Before I go on to the acquisition topic you already brought up, I still stay with the venture building. One question we had during the series was, what is the right team, or how do you get the right team for venture building, building up a new venture? Do you recruit the people internally, both with Mavie or with UNIQA, or do you have to bring in a lot of external people?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we normally bring people from outside. That's also the sort of the premise behind Mavie. There's no real right answer. What's the ideal profile? I would say that a couple of maybe characteristics of the people who really succeed in those roles. I mean, one is like overall curiosity about the world and about the topic that we're engaging with. Second, incredible work ethic and drive towards the results. The venture building teams are specifically set very small. We like to keep it very small, very focused, very sort of outside of any kind of a hardcore process, if you like. It's a very it's really goal-oriented small team with a mission. And that's how we like to keep it. And so in that setting, the chemistry between the people who are working together is very important. I mean, we now more and more prefer also people who have experience, who have made some of the learnings and failures before. They have a background also within the region as well. I mean, we are focusing on, of course, in Austria, but also Central and Eastern Europe. So there are some characteristics that make somebody to stand out, but I wouldn't say there is a muster that we're looking for. There's a one template. There's many ways to succeed in this.
And to add, healthcare is a very complex space. So not only venture building is also what we are trying to build overall, also in M&A and integration, etc., is complex, but the specific area of healthcare is complex. So we are looking for people who are learners. And that's also the feedback we get from our people, like the learning curve for everyone who joins us and is also empowered with freedom and responsibility. Is huge. Also, my own learning curve over the last 5 years has been incredible. And I think that's one main attitude in venture building, no matter if out in the world or in the setup of corporate venture building, you need to be a learner. You need to want to understand how to make healthcare simple, which is also our main vision and ambition.
And that's the other part that I would just finish on this. It's also the very direct culture of feedback. It's we don't have time for the things to be unspoken. So it's a very direct culture, and to be okay with it, not only to to receive it, but also to give and take proactive role in the greater good, right? If I know what's happening, what's wrong, then we can improve. If you don't, then that will slow us down.
Mm-hmm. I think all of what you just said really applies also for startups in general, and of course for corporate startups. We were talking about you were talking about the acquisition topic already. Now Mavie is an investor, and I think you're really emphasizing that you're not a CVC. You're acquiring other companies. What is the strategy? You were already pointing to it before, but what is the strategy you're following? Not only in acquiring entire companies, but also in being an investor.
Our mandate is to build integrated healthcare provider, which means that we're buying and we're looking for components to that provider. We're not buying and investing into companies to hold them and later on sell. This is our primary goal. Of course, depending on how the companies evolved, it might change over time, but this is our primary goal. We are looking for within what we call investable themes. So we have several areas of focus, of interest, where we are actively on the markets, talking to investors, early stage companies, VCs in the region and within our investable themes. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what the quite actually small part of the team does, but has a big impact on the overall results. Our strategy, I mean, if I continue along that, is to really work with the founder and stay with the founder as long as possible, because they know the area the best. We like to work with them and create sort of a shared goal, and to also bring them together to that one picture that we're building with Mavie. And this is the main task of essentially when you think about the Mavie Next and also the integration and venture building, how what we're building complements with what we're buying.
You already mentioned before in your acquisition strategy, internationalization for Mavie also plays a big role.
Yeah.
What is the internationalization strategy? Where are you going first?
I mean, we can't reveal everything, but we will be announcing some acquisitions in the region very soon. But it is essentially Central and Eastern Europe where we're actively searching, and we're searching for targets or for companies complementing to our investable theme. So as Lukas mentioned, for us, corporate health is an important area where we see a lot of potential and a lot of also great innovation that happens in markets. And what we're seeking for sometimes is a component that we can take abroad, where Mavie can be the platform where you can jump to another 2-3 countries, because we have the language skills, we have the technological platform, we have the brand that drives you along. And if we agree on those premises with the founders, then we go on.
And I guess there's also a synergy with UNIQA in this case, because UNIQA is pretty big in Central and Eastern Europe, isn't it?
Yes, so they are in 14 markets and have, I think, 18 million customers. That's why we have also chosen CE, as Ondrej mentioned, because there UNIQA has the strongest footprint. And that's, of course, opening up an opportunity to collaborate and create synergies.
So now we were talking about venture building, we were talking about Mavie as an investor. Of course, in our corporate venturing topic that we have here, I want to cover another field of corporate venturing, which is the collaboration with startups. Does it play a role for you besides acquiring startups, or is it really this?
I mean, that's of course, this is a big part of how we interact with startups. It's also about looking into partnerships. So we're looking for sales partnerships or marketing partnerships. This is also part of the working mode, if you like. We do also, of course, exchange quite a lot about our views on the developments. Founders who are working on a specific topic for some time are probably the best source of insight that you can get. And there's quite a lot of openness to share and discuss. So I would say that it varies and depends on the topic, but there's quite a lot of interaction that's happening. The partnerships, I think, when they succeed, they are really based on the mutual on mutual win-win. So what we try to do is also to bring something to the table, and I think that will continue. And I can only see that we will spreading our reach a bit more towards the markets that we are also outside of Austria. And we'll see where it takes us.
Mm-hmm. So the classic corporate venturing approach, where a company asks a startup to develop something that the corporate integrates, that's basically us for UNIQA. Although we are not doing insurance, but the healthcare pillar, right? We don't ask startups for now, at least. It has not happened to develop something for us and then integrate it into us. We rather choose the ones that really fit to us very well and then aim for a strategic partnership in the long run.
Obviously, Mavie is a pretty special case within the series here, as being a corporate scale-up, as I said in the introduction itself, and at the same time doing corporate venturing activities. Yes. My last question is a pretty obvious one. What are the next plans? What are the next steps for Mavie? What can we expect for 2026? Mm-hmm.
I can start, and if you don't mind. I mentioned it at the beginning a bit. Was not a classic pitch, but I said a bit where we are. So what we really want to achieve is that we make healthcare simple for people to navigate through. This doesn't mean that the solutions are simple, but the way how you deal with your healthcare should be a simple experience, a simple journey, and that's not easy. If you look at data, many people are not really well educated on health. In Austria, for instance, more than 50% have a low health education. In Germany, more than 80% have a problem to navigate through the healthcare system. The next thing is that people would say they are fine, they are healthy, Bastjo in Austria, but they actually have severe problems and they are ending up in chronic diseases sometimes. I think I mentioned that people and also the government, the system is not investing into prevention. 80-90% are invested into, when it comes to healthcare spendings, into repairing things that might not be able to be repaired anymore, especially if it's chronic diseases. Only 10% go into prevention, although, for instance, 50% of cancer and up to, I think, 70%, according to studies of the cardiovascular diseases, heart attacks, etc., strokes, could be prevented. And in all of this, there can be differences made. And here we see ourselves in the future as a sort of a trustworthy guidance that helps people to navigate through the healthcare system that offers them convenient, accessible, and also personalized solutions in a hybrid way. So not only digital, but digital and also all the offline solutions that we have. Could be at work that you're speaking to a mental health counselor, or you have a health check within 20 minutes where you get your data, but the data also goes into your health profile. And this whole health profile shows you the white spots in your health, it shows you the biggest risks, and it provides you actionable next steps, which you can then take and go with us, or you can go with others. So our aim is really to become this holistic healthcare guide, a trustworthy source, your source of truth for your health, with also actionable support that is easy to implement. And on top of this, also with the brand of Mavie, we want to be the cheerleader on the sideline who cheers you up and tells you, okay, go the next step, do it, do it, do it. I know it's a big vision, but we are making a lot of progress. And in that sense, we are growing our investable themes. So we have a lot of different assets that we start to connect with each other into one seamless customer journey. And into this kind of digital guide that helps you to also navigate through the offline solutions, but is also always 24/7 available to you. And that's an ambitious target, but that's definitely what we want to achieve, because we are deeply convinced that this is what the world needs, this is what people need, and this is also what the system needs. And when I look again at the demographic shift I was mentioning before, we need to be more aware that our health is in our hands and that we need to invest into it in order to stay healthy for longer. And if you're healthy, you're also more happy, you're more energized, and probably also more successful in life. And that's what we're striving for. And that was not a big vision. Maybe you want to add some things on the concrete next steps?
I mean, next steps we will be, so in 26, where we'll be focusing in is, as Lukas mentioned, we'll be introducing and doubling down on introducing digital products to the customers. That's one area. Second is definitely internationalization. We will be introducing our products and services into markets that we're already present, but in a more structured way. And the third area I would say is that we would want to lean on more on the potential, the huge potential that we have on the UNIQA customer base, and also recently through the investment of Raiffeisen onto Raiffeisen customer base. So there's a lot more to come. We have this huge opportunity right now ahead of us. We have a great team, products, and I think this is going to be a very exciting next year and the period afterwards.
That brings me to another question. I know I said before it was the last question. You just mentioned the investment of Raiffeisen this year. I think it was a pretty big investment, and also all the things you were just saying, all your ambitions, it also costs a lot of money, of course. You just received this pretty big investment some months ago. Is there more need for financing to finance all of this, or are you well financed right now?
Yeah, I can take this question. Obviously, we're not talking exactly about how much has been invested into Mavie yet, or how much we need. But if we bring acquisitions and big investments, we have to discuss them case by case with our shareholders. But overall, we are well funded for the years to come, and we are good to go and optimistic. So we don't foresee any challenges on this side, which is also a privilege. And there's also probably a big advantage of being a corporate startup versus just being a startup. We don't have to hustle for investments. Of course, we have to build very strong cases and deliver against them. We're also going to pitch very regularly and bring all the facts and details, but we are well funded, if that's answering your question.
I mean, yeah. I guess for any corporate venturing initiatives, the main thing is the commitment of the corporate behind it. And on our side, there's a huge commitment, of course, on the Raiffeisen side that we mentioned, but also on UNIQA side, which goes back to years and to the 5 years and the years before. And it's, of course, this is what we can feel, and we feel that sort of the commitment down to up to the Vorstand. So yeah, I think this is a very exciting time to be in Mavie.
And we're not proactively seeking for another investor at the moment.
Ondrej, well, what you just said is surely one of the core learnings of this entire series this year. So thank you very much, Ondrej and Lukas. I think there is a lot to expect of Mavie in the years to come. Dear audience, thank you for listening to our talk, and we see each other for the next part of our series, Corporate Venturing. Thank you.